Mm. Hello, people. All right. So, over the last week, I feel like most of last week, it was like a recurring theme for me, a recurring theme over and over. It was like God was speaking to me around being patient, around waiting, building patience, waiting every time I had a new message from a mentor, my pastor over the weekend. It was the same recurring theme: um, waiting, be patient, the seasons of life, things like that. And I just thought I will come on and share something about that to encourage you, because if you are at the start of a side gig, you are an emerging artist like myself, you are building something new. By the way, say hi if you're watching. I would love to know who's on with me. You can put it in the chats. Grant StreamYard permission to share your name so I know who it is. It will be amazing to know who's watching. Um, and I wanted to just come on and share something encouraging. See, because each of us will go through seasons of silence where we're like, what's happening? What's happening? Nothing is happening. And you're waiting for someone to call you, you're waiting to sign a client. Hi, good luck. You are waiting to get a new gig, you're waiting to receive an award, to be recognized for all the hard work you are producing, and the phone is not ringing, nothing is happening. That's okay. It's called a season of silence. And I want to tell you three things, three reasons why you should be thankful, three things that you can be doing in that season, three things why that season is a must. You must go through that season. You must go through that season. Something is actually happening. It's not that nothing is happening. It's not that God is sleeping on your case or that he's forgotten about you. None of that. Something is happening. And I want to tell you three things that you can start to do when you think you're in a season of silence. Three things that you need to recognize when you think you are in a season of silence. When you're working, when you're diligently learning your craft, or you think what you've done so far, you're about to give up. What's the point? Nothing is working. Three things. Number one, God is a God of process. God is a God of seasons. You know that scripture that says there is a time to laugh, there's a time to cry, there's a time to sow, there's a time to reap. You know that scripture? That is because God is a God of process. When a woman gets pregnant, God has set in motion a process that will carry that woman from conception to bringing forth that baby. Each month, there is something happening. There is something happening. You can't just say, oh, God has called me to be this amazing coach, or God has called me to be an artist, to minister, to build this amazing ministry. And then you think it's going to happen straight away. It's not. There needs to be a process, and God is a God of process. I remember when I started coaching and I started to learn and listen to different people talk about how to set up a coaching business. And I remember hearing over and over again, I'm going to get you to 10K months, 10K months. So that means they were promising their prospective clients that if they worked with them, they would quickly get them to the point where they were earning £10,000 each month. And I was like, that sounds amazing. I mean, that's more than double my current take home as a training doctor. I will be happy to do that, but I'm not a full-time coach. I'm a full-time doctor with a very, very part-time emerging business as a coach. And I have very few hours that I can give to my coaching business. So I remember one time I attended a day's training, and this guy went on and on about how his clients, his customers were building these big businesses. And I raised up my hand and said, so sir, just a quick question here. So I'm actually a pediatrician, and I only have one day a week, with some evenings that I dedicate to my coaching business. So is that not going to impact on the amount of time I need to get to the stage you're talking? He's like, yeah, it will be slower. I was like, yes, finally someone is telling me the truth. It will be slower. There is a process. You can't just start something new and expect it to blow up real quick. There is a process. God is a God of seasons. God is a God of process. I heard of this illustration that my pastor's wife shared on Sunday, and she loves plants. So her house is essentially full of plants. And she said she received a plant recently, and as a gift. And someone told her, oh, by the way, you can actually, this plant can grow to the point where you build other plants. So she YouTubed it and found out what needed to happen. So when she saw that there was a sprout, a new part of the plant emerging, she took it and said she wanted to see how it will grow. So that she had the option of planting it in a normal pot or just putting it in like a pot of water, a clear glass where she could actually see what was happening. And she showed this picture of, just very small roots at the start. And she just kept watching, and it felt like nothing was happening. Until one time she looked at it and she's like, wow, there were so much roots. It had grown. And all of that had to happen first before the plant itself started to grow. And I was like, that's an amazing illustration, isn't it? So you might think nothing is happening. The phone is not ringing. You're not earning the money you thought you would earn. Where are the clients that you thought you would have? However, your roots are growing. I always tell other artists when I'm coaching or when I'm mentoring, I say you need to take the time to set your foundations right. You need to take that time, because if you're thinking you're going to have, you want an amazing career as an artist, you want to be able to grow your audience, but you don't have an email list, well, that really, really will limit how quickly you're going to grow and how effectively you'll be able to grow your audience and communicate to your audience. But growing your email list means you have to learn a new platform. You have to learn how to send emails. You have to learn it's a skill that you have to learn. You have to take that time. I remember for me, when I wanted to do it, it took me a while. I first had to learn. I had to watch other coaches teach me how to do it. Then it took me a while to sit down myself and actually do it and figure out the platform. And sometimes I still get stuck. Sometimes I find myself on YouTube saying, how do you do this again on the platform? And thank God for YouTube, because there's lots of videos that teach you how to do multiple things. So, number one, God is a God of process, seasons. You need that time. You're not all of a sudden just going to explode into being famous, into being well known, into this successful person. It's going to take time. So that's number one. And remember, that season, the seasons, you see that nothing is happening, but something is actually happening in the place that you can't see. Your roots are growing. Your roots are growing. So give it that time. Give it that time. So in other words, be joyful with it. Be at peace with it. It's a season of silence. Be at peace. It needs to happen for your roots to grow. It needs to happen. Number two. Number two. So I've talked about seasons. I've talked about processes. Which other things can happen? So God can be teaching you to develop things. Someone put it this way. Someone put it beautifully. She said that when you think nothing is happening, you might think, oh my goodness, I'm not, maybe you don't even have the funds to release music yet, or you are really limited in what you can do. She said, well, you might think nothing is happening, but you're being really productive, you're being fruitful. And and in my head, I was thinking, why would she say that? She said, you're producing patience. Remember, patience is a fruit of the spirit. So God is actually teaching you to wait on him, because you're saying, I'm waiting on God. He will sort me out. I'm waiting. I'm not going to move till God sorts me out. Till God says move, I'm not going to move. Hi, Tinker for Toys. Let me know who's watching, by the way. Guys, let me know who's watching. And if something is blessing you, let me know. If there's a word that is blessing you, let me know. Put it in the chat. So you are being productive. You are learning patience. You are learning to listen to God. You are learning. And oh my goodness, there are times when I've said, God, I'm relying on you. I honestly cannot, I can't move. I can't do anything until you provide, until you do this. I'm not doing it. And it's taught me faith. It's taught me faith, because in those seasons, I've seen God move like never before. I now have experiential knowledge of God's faithfulness because of those times when I had to wholly rely. I had to rely and say, God, I'm just going to wait on you. You're going to have to make this happen if you want it to happen. And he did. So now I have those testimonies, and no one can take that from me. No one can take your experience from me. No one can take your testimonies from you. No one can take your story from you. It's yours and yours alone. So that's number two secrets of being glad for a season of silence. God is teaching you. So number one, you're growing roots. You are carrying something on the inside that needs to grow. Like a baby. Baby needs, all those baby apps when you're pregnant, and it say, this is week 6, your baby is as big as a prune, and your baby is as big as this, and your baby is as big as this. It needs the whole 9 months. And what's amazing is this: you could say in a woman, we need 9 months to be due to give birth. In a dog, it's totally different. In a rat, it's totally different. Now, elephant, I think I've heard 4 years. So it's different for different people. So you can't compare yourself to people. You can't. It depends on what God is doing on the inside of you. The vision God has given to you is unique to you. So therefore, your season of silence, your time of waiting is unique to you. So you can't compare yourself to other people. Someone has asked, does age have anything to do with releasing music or writing music? No, it does not. It does not. However, the amount of experience does. So I remember talking to someone recently. When she was young, she was singing, she was writing music, and she was actually working on an album, and had started to go to studio to work on an album. And then life happened, and she had to step away from all of that. Now, gosh, I don't know how many years later, 15 years? A long time later, she went back to music and started to write again. And I asked her, remember those songs you wanted to release when you were in your late teens and early 20s? Would you still release those songs? And she said no. She said, no, my story has changed. So age, I don't think is a factor, but experience is. The amount of skill you've developed, if you started to learn really early, that will help you. But also life does something beautiful. So depending on the story you have to tell, the experience you have to share. So I'm going to leave that with you, Tinker for Toys. I don't know if that helps at all. Let me know if that helps. Now, I've talked about God being a God of process, God being a God of seasons. There's a season to plant, there's a season to harvest. I've talked about timing. The last key, the last secret is other people. See, God has a plan. God is a God of providence. He already has a plan in motion. You know, he's the master architect. He knows the people you need to have around you to make this thing happen. He knows the right people. Because the fact that someone comes to you and says, I want to produce and manage your music, does not mean that is the person that God has brought for you to work with. You know, there are people, key people that are going to be linked to us that God, you know. Yes, Tinker for Toys. I really wish I knew your proper name. You can send me a message. Just DM me a message. So, oh, lost my train of thought. Can someone tell me what I was saying? Let's see how good you were listening, how closely you were following me. I know I'm talking about the last secret, which is people around you, people that God is setting in motion to help you, to work with you, to bring the vision, to bring the plan into being. Those people, hi Loretta. Those people need to be ready. They need to be in the right place. They need to be in the right place. So you might be thinking nothing is happening. Well, God is arranging those people. God is setting things in motion. And you don't want to jump the gun. You don't want to go before things are ready. You don't want to help God. Sometimes you just need to wait. Trust that God is working. That song that says, even when I can see it, you're working. Even when I can feel it, you're working. God is working. He's working. So those are the 3 secrets. You need to know that there's a process that needs to happen. I remember I've talked about my coaching journey, how I knew that because I had less time to dedicate to my business, it was going to take longer to get to where I needed to. And that was okay. Because you have to learn. There are things that you have to learn. There are skills that you have to learn. Yes, absolutely, Loretta. And then I remember thinking about this recently, you know, because there was one time I was thinking I was a little bit impatient. And I was like, oh, I'm spending so much on my music. I'm spending so much on my business, spending so much investing to build a lasting business, something that I know will bring me wealth and success later. But at the minute, it's a little bit, when you're building foundations, you know, no one can see the building rising. They just see holes in the ground. They just see you digging. It feels like work without really seeing much results. And I was like, oh, and I know that my kids, I want to be able to be a blessing to them. I want to be able to provide for them. I want to be able to, you know, that's why I have kids. That's why I work so hard in the future to be a doctor so I could earn well to support my family. And then I remembered something. I remembered growing up and my dad was in the army. And at some point, they had posted him from here to here, then posted him from here to here. And as a family, we had just moved from Lagos to Ibadan. And then again, quickly they posted him again to Kaduna. And I think they made a decision and said, no, we were going to stay in Ibadan and he was going to go to Kaduna. And there were some times that things were tight because my dad wasn't around. But then there were also other things that I noticed about growing up. There were some times that things were just tight. You know, maybe you'd be thinking that, oh, your dad's colleagues, his peers, maybe they're traveling abroad, or they're being flamboyant, and there's a lot happening. You're like, well, why aren't we doing that? Well, I remember that he will be building house here. He'll be building house here. He'll be doing this. He had several businesses, you know. And I remember he was a giver. We would have a car, and all of a sudden he'll be like, oh, God spoke to him to give this car to someone. Or, there were just things. We didn't live that kind of life when I was growing up, a really flashy lifestyle, flamboyant, and he was like a general in the army. Why was that? It was because he was building his foundations, investing that money. Because if you don't invest, you invest your time when you're starting out, you invest your money, you invest your energy. If you don't invest, there's going to be nothing to reap in the future, nothing that will keep reproducing. So this foundational time in the season of silence is so important. That season is necessary. So you might say, what can I do in this season? Number one, get ready. It's also a protection for you, because if you all of a sudden got called to maybe start touring, or got called to a very public place, would you be ready? Would your gifts be ready? Would your songwriting be up to task? Will your voice be ready? Would you have trained? Would you have mastered your voice? In the season of silence, get ready. Be preparing. If you're learning an instrument, learn it. Learn it well. Learn it. Be practice. Know that you are headed somewhere, and your season of silence is the season to prepare. That season is the season to prepare. So work on your songwriting. Build a network. Gosh, build a network. Just the way you need to, build your skills, your songwriting skills, your voice, you need to also build a network of people around you. Call people, grow, attend events, introduce yourself to people in the industry, in the area that you want to work at. Get to know people genuinely. I don't know if you heard my last podcast episode, and the importance of investing in people, genuinely serving, genuinely caring for people. There's so much that you can do in the season of silence that will help you build lasting success, lasting wealth. Build your network of people, build your skills, master your voice, master your songwriting skills, master your business skills. Speaking, there's so much, it's endless. There's so much that you need to learn to grow before you can burst out. So dig in, dig your foundation, lay your foundation. That's the time for it. The last story I'm going to share is one that I heard last week as well. So recently, I think maybe a year ago or so, I was listening to a training, and someone said, give yourself 6 years to actually start to see yourself making a headway in music. It takes a while for people to actually start to know you, to start to recognize you. And I was like, oh, wow, 6 years, and and those are people that are really, there are different ways of being a musician. There are different ways. And obviously, if you're like me and you're working full-time at another job and only doing music on your part-time, you can't compare yourself to people who are constantly booking gigs, They are doing a lot with their music. They essentially live off their music. How long do you think it'll take you to get to where they are? You can't compare yourself to them. All right. So someone said it'll take 6 years. And I was like, I don't even know if that's for people who are doing it every day or people like me who are doing it, one day a week. But I heard of a group called, what's their name? They're three siblings, two sisters, one brother. And I love them. I can't remember their name. Anyways, they're amazing. I love their music so much. So they're Christian artists. And they were almost giving up. Literally. They won an award, and when they came to collect the award and say thank you, they were crying. They were like, oh, we were about to quit. So can you imagine how long they had been working? I heard of this group last week, King and Country. So they are two brothers that go around singing, and they are amazing. I don't know if you've heard about them, King and Country. They're really good. It took them, they were touring, they were doing things for 10 years before they ever became known. 10 years. How long have you been doing stuff? How long have you been songwriting? How long have you been releasing? Just think, it helps your perspective when you think about all these things. So your season of silence is necessary, but there's so much more that you can do to prepare for when you come out of it. So much more you can do. So I'm going to leave you there. I hope this has encouraged you. If you are in a season of silence, keep going. Keep going. Build, dig your foundation, lay your foundation so that when you come out of the season of silence, you are ready. You are ready. All right, guys. Have a lovely rest of the week. See you next week, same time for Mentoring Thursday. Take care, y'all. Bye.